Some of the biggest media powerhouses are putting tremendous political pressure now on the state of Georgia over a bill there that would ban abortions after the detection of a fetal heartbeat. Now, if those companies decide on an out-and-out boycott, it would deal a huge blow to Georgia's bottom line. Eli Glasner is just back from Georgia, not to talk about a review, because this is a really important news story. It's really getting bigger and bigger in the headlines. So you're just back. You have a piece that's airing on the National tonight. Right. And let's look ahead with some of the things that you've learned. Number one, help us understand just how big is the film and television industry in Georgia.
In 2017, Georgia was the hottest place to shoot. And I'm not talking temperature-wise. I'm talking activity in all of North America. They are creating now something like $9.5 billion in terms of economic spin-offs. That's how big this industry is, mostly due to a very aggressive tax break, around 30% tax break. So you get back that money if you bring your production there. And so that's why, as you see, I mean, movies like Hunger Games, Spider-Man Homecoming, Baby Driver, which we see there, the series Black Lightning, shooting right now with the Watchmen TV series, on and on. And so a lot of big productions. Past couple of years, I mean, the industry there has been blossoming. Thousands of technicians, directors, etc., actors coming to that state to work in the industry. But here's the thing. Governor Kemp certainly supports the industry, but he is pro-life. And in May, he signed, as you said, the heartbeat bill, which makes it impossible to get an abortion as early as a fetal heartbeat is detected, which could be as early as 6 weeks. Now, this law doesn't go into effect until January, but already, as you mentioned again, Hollywood very much flexing its muscles, getting involved, talking about a boycott. Take a listen to the CEO of Walt Disney Studios.
I think if it becomes law, it'll be very difficult to produce, or I rather doubt we will. I don't think I think many people who work for us will not want to work there, and we'll have to heed their wishes in that regard.
So strong words from a very big, very powerful company, and he has company of his own. I mean, you can look at the individuals, Ron Howard, Alyssa Milano, Jason Bateman, saying if this bill becomes reality, they will move their productions out of the state. And then Netflix, AMC, NBC, Viacom, and many more, all saying they will reconsider. That's kind of the hammer they're holding over the state. They will reconsider what happens come January.
So this is a threat, or these is a series of threats over a law that still doesn't come into effect for another 6 months,
right,
but is obviously already having an effect.
The way the film industry works, even the perception of risk, even the perception of turmoil can have an impact, and that's what I heard when I met Kalina Boulder. This is someone who went from working at Starbucks to working as a location manager. I met her in Hapville, Georgia. So much like Hamilton, Ontario, an old industrial town, once was a plantation, now very much on the up, bustling arts community. This is where the film grips and whatnot will come to get their coffee in the morning. And now these very companies that Kalina, this person who's made her business to know where to shoot in this state, well, these companies are now threatening to leave. Take a listen to how she's feeling.
I'd like to think that the working relationship they have with the crew members in Georgia would give them more of a pause in terms of wanting to just leave because of some political stunt. Yeah. But at the end of the day, money talks, and if your A-listers and your above-the-line crew members don't want to bring their business to Georgia, us below-the-line crew members, you know, we're kind of left in the lurch a bit.
She was telling me she and herself and others, and they know friends who are looking now at their mortgage and thinking, you know, if that production doesn't come back, if I can't bet on that show returning in January, they're already looking out of state. But some other people there are actually, you know, fighting back in their own way. So Callie Moore, she came from Louisiana to Georgia. There she is, and she's actually working on her own campaign called Stay and Fight Georgia. And so she's now kind of mobilizing those frustrations and fears to raise money for the ACLU, which is actually mounting a challenge against the bill. And so there you see the crew of the show that she works on, P-Valley. Lots of women on that shoot, lots of women frustrated by the bill, but also frustrated by the boycott. So they're saying, don't hurt us with the boycott, help us actually fight this bill in the courts. And they've already raised, I think, about $10,000.
You mentioned a number of the movies and the television shows that are produced in Georgia. One which is particularly closely associated with that state is The Walking Dead. And how is it figuring into all of this debate?
Yeah, one of our people we wanted to meet was running late, so we had a chance, jumped in the car. An hour south from Atlanta is Sonoy. And this is the locale that if you watch the show, I mean, the background of those fields and the main street, the old-fashioned town, that is Sonoy, Georgia. There are gift shops there now. There's a theme restaurant. I was talking to a tour guide who was dressed in costume as the governor, and he was saying, you know, there used to be 5 businesses on the main street. Now there's 51. But not everyone there are really, there's a little bit of the main street. Not everybody there are really thrilled about the idea of Hollywood kind of sticking their thumb on the scale of the state, as it were. I had a chance to talk to Jan Hepp. She is the owner of the Queen's Jewels on Main Street, and yeah, she has mixed emotions about the whole ordeal. Take a look.
Of course, it wouldn't be a good thing for us. I mean, we could use the business, but on the other hand, why does an industry like that think they can come and tell us what our laws should be in Georgia?
So many interesting perspectives on this. So what happens next, Eli?
So I was talking to a local journalist who looks at the film industry, and he was saying, given what's happened in other states and given that this bill is quite aggressive, he thinks it could actually be defeated in court. But what's interesting is this reporter was saying the damage has actually already happened. Take a look.
There's no doubt that a lot of producers have already written Georgia off. I mean, even if this bill doesn't come into effect and if the courts block it, I think a lot of producers say Georgia is off the table. We're just not going to even consider it.
So the bill could go down in court, could be defeated. The governor tells his base, I did what I could, but in the meantime, the film industry already dealing with turmoil from even the threat of a boycott.
A $10 billion industry, as you made clear. Thank you for laying the groundwork for what we're going to see tonight on The National, the documentary that Eli has been producing since returning from Georgia. Great to have you in this morning, and see you next week.
All righty.
Okay.